All right. If you feel the presentation is lacking this morning, remember you got an hour less sleep, so it was really good. Just know that. It was good. It was good. We'll leave that. Going to give you an update or the best I can do of what's been going on in Honduras. I think 3 years ago we did a Wednesday night class and went over some of the things we did that year, but we've taken, I would call them large, I guess this is our large group. We've taken, 12 to 20 people 4 times, and a couple of us have gone down on some smaller trips. So the first slide you'll see there is, I think this is our first group that went. This is our second group. I think if anybody remembers that went, I think this is the group that went in the rain and slept in the airport, and yeah, so this is the group that slept in the Miami airport and got rained out, and if the devil wasn't working on us, I don't know what it was, because it was a tough trip. I think we went through like 20-something inches of rain in 24 hours, and I don't think we got dry for 3 days, and the power was out, and but we built through it. And surprisingly, most of the people still went back after that. So, but I think this is the third group here. Most everybody that was in that last picture is still going. And this is the group we just got back. When we get back Wednesday of this year. So a background of where we're working and where we are. If I didn't put a picture of Honduras up there, but if this is Santa Ana. If you search Santa Ana, Honduras in Google, it'll put you there. Santa Ana is in that lower right corner of the screen. It's got the 2 little squares over it. If you look in the center, there's a little city called Aragua. And then if you look at the top left, there's a city called Costa Rica. That urban-looking area on the left is Ojahona, and those are all sort of adjuncts of that. But Santa Ana is where the compound we stay is at. Costa Rica is where, in the last 3 years, our group has sort of focused on. We noticed in the first year or two, we didn't want to go build all over creation in Honduras, because you could go all over the place and build and never come back to the same place and never see the same people. So we've really tried to focus in and do a lot of work in that Costa Rica. I think some of the guys, I don't think I was up there 3 years ago. I don't remember, Jim, were you up there, or Nicholas, or you guys went up there and saw that these people were really, there's poor people all over Honduras in the hills, and that picture doesn't do it justice how hilly and mountainous that is. But Costa Rica is up. I mean, there's some parts that are almost straight up. You have to, what do they call it, a switchback when you're driving, and you have to switch back to get up a mountain to get up there. So there was 3 years ago, there was no running water or source in Costa Rica. There was no church in Costa Rica, and there was no school in Costa Rica. So as we move on, we'll talk about those things.
Jason, about how far is it from your Santa Ana to the
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I meant to say that. It's only a few miles, like horizontally, to each one of those, to Aragua. It might be 4 or 5 miles. Don't quote me on that for certain, from Santa Ana to Costa Rica, but it is up a mountain. So it's not far, is the bottom line. I mean, you can get there pretty quick. Whoop, let me back up. So a little background on some of you may have met Dalton, the guy on the top of that picture. That's the Hines family, and then Tim on the lower left, and Marcia on the lower right, and Dalton's wife, Jen, up on the top left. These are essentially our facilitators down there, and help us get a lot of stuff done when we go, and other church groups that go down there, so that we can try to do the most. I mean, like this trip down, we built 3 houses and a classroom and did a medical clinic. And there's no feasible way that we could coordinate that in a remote place like that without having help there all the time. So they do a really good job of getting stuff ready and sorted. So when we get down there, we're not trying to go buy lumber or find blocks or find nails or find equipment or find a bus or find a bus driver that's reliable. They do a good job of getting that all together. They live there, yeah. Dalton and his family live there. I would say 9 to 10 months out of the year. They might come up here a month or two on average. They moved down there, I think when we started going down there about 4 years ago was the first year they started. 5 years? They've been there 5 years? Okay. Whoop. So this is the building that like we have most of our meals in. We'll have devos there. This is what it looks like inside. There's no air conditioning in most of these buildings. This is up in the mountains. It's pretty cool there in the evening, not extremely hot any time of the year, except for the rain stuff. That was really the biggest issue we had. There's another picture of that. If you have any questions as I'm going, just ask, and we'll just try to do those as we go. This is one of those pictures that the unseen of the picture is more valuable than the seen. It doesn't look very impressive. This is actually on that compound, or we call it the compound where we stay at. In the center there, you see a concrete cover, and then to the left, you'll see the light and the well. That was supported by members here, aside from the work we did, and that's a well. At that compound, they had water issues, to say the least. Had a failing well, an old well. It's hard to drill wells in Honduras. That well's about 400 feet deep, but it serves what they were getting into issues when they're, especially in the summer trips when there was a lot of people staying and using a lot of water. Actually running out and having to buy water. You can buy water in Honduras. You can have it hauled in by truck and they pump it in. But because of some people here, that well feeds not only the compound we stay that sees, hundreds of people funnel through it through the year to come do work in Honduras. It also feeds the medical clinic there. So on the compound, there's a free medical clinic that's opened every day. I don't know how many staff, maybe 3 staff probably. Maybe more there. They've got a doctor that people can come see. There's also a community water spigot that's out there. So because of that, then they've had reliable water since probably the winter. It's not been that long, but maybe the last 3 months. Recognize that guy? Yeah. So. This was a picture we took, if you remember where the Costa Rica, where I showed that was up on the map on the top left. There was no church there. There was no water there within the last 3 years. In the last year, we're standing in a new church building that was built there. There's been a couple other churches, particularly some churches in central Tennessee that have latched onto that area too. So it's pretty cool. I think they've got about 70, 75 maybe coming there from up there. So pretty neat. Like there's those folks, if any of them were going to church, they were walking miles, but most of them weren't. And there's a picture of the building. Something relevant to the building is, and we'll get to it later, but you can see the blocks that it's made out of. You can look at those. Those are interlocked together. Miss Harrelyn Rash can move a lot of those blocks, by the way. It'll surprise you. The guy in the blue shirt, his name's Eduardo. So he works with Torch in a program called R1T1. I think he's only been on probably in the last year or two. We got to meet him and spend, I don't think I'd spent much time with him until this last trip. Neat guy, really driven to evangelize. So he's going out, he's talking to people, actually had been spending time with some of the people we built the houses for on this trip. So this is a classroom at Costa Rica. That didn't exist last year. There was no school up there. Most of the kids, I don't think, were going to school anywhere. And this is a Christian-based school, and we actually built one of the classrooms. They're trying to build a classroom for every grade, and we built one of our days there. We built one of the classrooms for the school. And this is all on the same property that the church is on, and it's all kind of part of the same compound. So the mayor of Ohahona, and I don't quite understand how all this works, but there's mayors of these little cities. Well, you know, they've seen what these guys are doing down there, and there was a little piece of land and a building in the Costa Rica area, and they donated to Torch, and they said, you know, if you guys want it, you know, if you want to build a church there, do what you know, and they can use it as a community center. They'll give it to you. So they gave them the land last year, and so that's all been built in the last 8 months. And they started school. Well, that was the first day of school when we were there, wasn't it? Or is it? No. Okay. Well, they were in school when we were there. This is just a picture. This was actually the week before. There were some guys that had came down. A lot of the Hondurans want to be baptized in a river that's like 45 minutes from there. It's really hard to get to. We didn't go there, but just showing in reference, there were actually some folks baptized the week we were there, and they didn't choose. Otherwise, we would have been. It's about a 3-hour round trip to this, where this is. So this is the other program I think I briefly mentioned. It's called R1T1. And Dalton, the guy you saw earlier that's down there, I would say this is his passion. Would you guys accurately say that? I think he's passionate about that, and has really grown that in the last 4 years. And we've done a little bit to support that. But what he's taking is young Honduran men, and they're teaching them a trade. So all that building there didn't exist is that the new building? And maybe 2 years ago, and I don't think that's the new one. So each year they've grown. I think they started out with about 5 to 10, 3 or 4 years ago. This last year they had 20, maybe 25 to 30 that started. I think they graduated somewhere in the low 20s. But they're also injecting a spiritual aspect to it. I think they had, I want to get these numbers. If I say them wrong, correct me. They had 20 something. 17 of the young men that started were not. I don't know if they were believers. They weren't baptized. And I think at the end of it, I think like 15 of the 17 at the end of the program that graduated were also baptized. And then they have a trade. The trades they're teaching them are welding, carpentry. Yeah, they've got a carpentry shop. They've also got a plant nursery, and the blocks. They're building those blocks. That's one of the main things they do is making those blocks that you can build. I'm pretty sure that building's built. It might be built out of them there. So that's an inside picture of their new building, and this is the first. I said the first day of Costa Rica. This is the first day of this school while we were there. Beginning of March, they're starting their school year. I think they run March to November-ish or something like that. So this was the welding area, I think, and they've got, this year they've got 50. So they've essentially almost doubled every year. They've got about 50 students starting this year, and they've also, between the welding, they've got they're introducing a little technology, which we had someone here actually buy 15 laptops for a class that they're letting the guys get exposed to just basic Excel, the internet that they've never seen before. That's a picture from the kind of the nursery area at R1T1. They've got a restaurant. We actually ate there Sunday for lunch. They also serve food there. That's an overview, an aerial that it's not been updated. On the left, there you can see the footprint of that building. On the top left, I'm going to back up. That's where that building right there now. They built that in the last year. The weld shop and they've also got a hair. What would you call that? Like a barber school in there? Yeah. So on the bottom right, you can see from the road. There's a nursery. That kind of black covered there is a nursery and the restaurant. Directly behind that is the area they build all the blocks in, and that's all been, I guess, all that's been built in the last 5 years. There's a picture of the blocks they're making. That's what we built. They built most of the classrooms, so their goal is that they can give these guys, some steady work to, if there's nothing else to do, they can go build blocks for a while, I think is what they do. So like if you got, and finding something that somebody can steadily do in a place of low income. Just prospectively, a really good carpenter salary, what they're paying is like $25 of our money a day. So it's just a different world altogether in money down there.
What are they making the blocks out of? What ingredients are they using?
Well, they use a cement material, but then they also use just dirt and material that they've messed with it last year for a long time to get what they. Yeah, so it's all the materials there. And they've got a mix now. I don't know exactly what the mix is now, but I remember a year or two ago they were experimenting with different things. So I think I have a picture. Well, there's they're making those by hand. They'll put them in and I think they're trying to move towards a hydraulic type instead of the manual. But they put the material in there, and then they've got a big mixer you can't see, and the guys literally just got a big lever and just compact the block. That's a picture of they're loading sand for so when you build the blocks, they've got a trailer, then the sand and the mortar mix. They've got a little mixer on there. So we built block structures 2 days. So the Honduran guys, that part of R1T1 came and helped us mix the mortar. What is that? Oh, it's the classroom. Yeah. So we built the classroom on the right. Tuesday. Is that right? Tuesday? Yeah. So we built the classroom in a day. Now they had prepped the floor and had the first course of blocks started, but we built that classroom on the right the last working day we had down there, and that's part of they're trying to step that down to have one for every grade. There's another picture of I think the guys welding. Starting to question my eyesight today, maybe as I get older. That's the R1T1. That's a picture in the carpentry shop. Pretty cool stuff. They make some, they'll take orders for cabinets and counters, and that's a picture of giving out of food bags, give you a little perspective of some of the living conditions there. This is a house build. This is an old pic from one of the first house builds. That's a perspective. Most folks will cook on something like that. That on the left, that's propped up by those legs, is sort of like a little clay cook stove. Usually on the houses we built, they'll have something like that somewhere. One of the things, there'll be a picture later. The weld shop at the R1T1, they're building rocket stoves, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. They're pretty simple. It's like a 4x4 square tubing, and it comes down, and it'll make more sense with a picture later. And it you don't have to use very much wood to cook with them. So one of the last couple of years, especially since as we can support them making them on the houses that we've built, we'll buy a rocket stove to put in there so they can cook a little easier. That's just a picture of how pulling wood up a hill. I don't know if you can see those little bears there, for all that make those. So going back to the same areas, it's pretty neat, and you'll see those little bears, like in one of the classrooms we were in the other day. We looked over and I was like, yeah, you recognize those. We were in there. So those are the little bears that the ladies make here, or men. I don't know if any men make them or not, but that's Frank, you making bears there? Yeah, that's another picture of that. So this was the first house we built on this trip, and the views are I think one of the first years, it's like the poorest places have the prettiest views, and that's the truth. I mean, we were on the side of a mountain, and Frank risked it all to level up the post first day out of the gate, hanging off the side. I was like, okay. I had a picture of that. It just doesn't show the good perspective that it was actually there. But anyway, you can see that little rocket stove burning out there that we got. This house we actually had to make a little smaller because it wouldn't fit on the site. But the guy that lives there, he had dug out, I don't know if you can tell how much fill. I mean, he had been scraping. He dug that side of that hill out by hand in the days prior when they found out they were going to get a house. I can't quite explain how, like, until you see it, when somebody's taking a little pick, it feels like the Shawshank Redemption type thing, you know, where he's picking all day. Like, that's what it looks like. He had eaten out the side of his hill there, and I don't know, it's pretty neat, and they were excited. But this lady, she was actually baptized when we were there on the trip. That lives in this house. That's going back to that Costa Rica area. That's Jim Ferris with his sunshades on back a while back when we helped run some water lines to some of those areas. They had that water line. I don't remember how long it was, but I mean it was like yeah, and they had it buried the next day. The Honduran guys did, not because of freezing. That PVC pipe, UV, it can't stand out in the sun and be very strong. And the next day we came back and it was like you went down the road and they had at least got it all covered. And that's not like soft soil there. They were really excited to get that water line. That's the reservoir that feeds that area that I was telling you about that didn't have any water. A church in Tennessee primarily funded that. That's just working on, that's just digging holes for one of the wood houses we built. The last couple of years, we've been buying a mattress. It was one of a big gut-wrenching moment. A couple of years ago, we were building a house and throwing our trash, throwing the scrap off in a pile, and we got ready to leave, and you're feeling good, yeah, we did a good job. And we looked back, and the lady's house was dragging all that stuff back out of that trash pile, and she was dragging her mattress back out. And it was a little flat, darker than the color of that carpet, dirty. And she was putting it back in her house. So they actually make mattresses in Honduras. They're not very much. What do we pay for those? $100-something, $150 for a frame, a mattress, and legs. So we started doing that, adding those to the houses to give them a clean. And the ladies will buy sheets. When we first get down there, we'll buy sheets. So starting off, they'll at least have a clean mattress. Now that's praying at the end of a house build. This guy, I didn't remember him. I was looking through these. We were looking at these last night. he stayed up. We thought he was, honestly, I thought he was on drugs or something. He was kind of like, looked like he'd been up all night, but he had been. And we built a house for him, and he had stayed up all night trying to keep people from taking the wood because they delivered the wood the day before. And he had literally sat on the wood pile all night long before we got there the next morning. There's a picture of the blocks, how the blocks get constructed. You can see a piece of rebar, coming up every 3 or 4 blocks, and those interlock together. And then about after 10 or 12 courses, you fill those holes up with mortar, and then add another rebar and just keep going. So if you've got the bottom course done and the floor, you can build the rest in a day. The kids playing. There's the workhorse of the trip. Was there some saying about load the mule or something like that? There's a lady build. Most people when you're build, I would say 9 out of 10 want to help build with you. That guy's name, if you say Naun, most people know who I'm talking about if you've been. He finds his way to us every trip. I don't know how he does, but that guy right there, he was, I think he was baptized this last year, maybe? Yeah. And there's a picture of the inside of the house. So the ladies do a real good job after the last few years of that's just some basic necessities, some cooking stuff. You see that little stove sitting in the back, on the back left. One of the things, and someone here donated this year, was cast iron skillets. Cast iron skillets a pretty big deal down there, and so we gave some cast iron skillets out this year. They're hard to actually buy down there. That's something that was actually easier to pack and take down. There's a picture in the house, Bill. That's the inside of the block house that we built Monday last week. Yeah. So after you've built a few of these wood houses, it's pretty cool that how it goes up, that everybody knows how to start laying things out right before you build them, and they go up in a hurry. Not really, no. Yeah, that was something I think it used to be a bigger concern. Like, they don't suggest you take malaria pills or anything like that anymore. So I've not noticed them.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
You said that one guy sat on the wood. Do they have to worry about people stealing their stuff like that and coming in their house, these new houses, and trying to take their things?
It's more of stuff laying on the side of the road. You wouldn't want to leave something out at night just sitting out. Somebody walk by and pick it up. Not really. They give them a lock. That's part of the house build for the door. But I've not heard of much of that. But this is a neat. So we were walking, handing out food bags, and this lady, as we were walking by, stopped us and wanted us to show us the inside of her house. This was a torch house. This was a wood house, a 16 by 16 wood house, and she was really proud, which was pretty cool. She wanted us to come in and see what she did with it. And this is her bedroom. She's made a curtain that divides the room. That's her kitchen, which this is all in the same. Bear in mind this is 16 by 16, but she had it really neat, really clean, and we didn't ask to come in. She stopped us and she wanted to show us. So this is a medical clinic we did on our trip this time a week ago. Was it Saturday? What way did we do that? Friday, last Friday. These folks, they know that when the word gets out, you're doing it. This is the line waiting before we started. They started lining up an hour or two before. And they had stations set up in this room to give. Y'all have to help me out with it. They had the dentist, like a station, a medical station, and we gave out some glasses. They didn't do, they didn't do any dental procedures there, but they just basically, if they looked and they needed to get it done, they can schedule. The clinic there on the compound can do those things. That's the lady. That was our pharmacy crew for the day, and that lady stays down there and runs the pharmacy. I think you guys were the busiest of anybody that day. So they hand out parasite pills too for a lot of the people that live there. It's common. I think they try to do that every 6 months or something like that, maybe. Frank and Harlan did the eyeglass station, so they would. How many you guys give out? Several. That. Yeah, 20 or 25 people to get. Yeah. That was the reading exam. Was a fine print Bible. Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool. Like you see somebody that can see something for the first time, though. It's pretty neat to watch. Yeah, that's cool. Right. So some of the ladies, or primarily one lady, these hats, they love these little knit hats. Miss Smithmeyer, I'm just going to say it. I can't believe how many of these she makes. Like there's so many of these to give out. The little knit hats. Am I saying that right? Is that a knit hat? We took vacuum sealed bags and bags of those and gave out to the kids. Oh, and clothes, yeah, and clothes too, yeah. Oh, shoes, yeah. Yeah, shoes are a big deal. The problem is most of our shoes are bigger than their shoes, especially mine. So nobody's gonna wear my shoes after I leave. But I can't help in that. So, but if you have a smaller foot, if you want to give some shoes, that'd be good. So this is a food bag prep. I think we gave out 100 food bags with just some essentials: beans, rice, different cooking ingredients. That's what each bag looks like, is like that. Well, that's smaller than I thought it was going to be, but this is through the years of. Brittany took a few pictures. Like this is a 3-year period with that particular child. That's Sarah that we built her house a few years ago. There's the Bibles one of the Bibles we gave out. This is the daughter of the house the first day, okay. This was the baby, last year. This is the lady we built. We built her house the first day, and she was baptized on our trip. And that's that's them in their house. that's her. Her and two other friends of hers were baptized the week we were down there. And you don't, as I told Dustin, I was like, you don't realize the appreciation of having a clean baptistry till you're in Honduras, and you're like, it's kind of water's kind of funky. Yeah, this is 2 years ago. This guy on the right, who now has helped with R1T1, we built him a house a couple of years ago. He actually worked for us building the block house, or the block classroom the last day. I'm trying to roll through these a little faster because I think I'm going to run out of time. Yeah, this is last year and this year. The same guy we were talking about. That's what kind of staying in the same area. It's been pretty cool that they know we're coming back. We didn't just leave and drop in and like, here you go, here's a thing. Yeah, it's last year and this year. That's Naun I was telling you about that was baptized in the last year. I don't know if he does that to other groups that come, but it seems to find up. You'll look around and be working and like, oh, there's Naun. How'd he get here? That's a year's difference there. They were just, when looking through the pictures, notices like these are the same, catching the people we've seen year to year. It's Jim and his bears. Oh, that's her. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite. When Jim and Chris run in, but we've been, and not only us, but other groups have been in those areas enough that people know you. They're comfortable with us. They're not afraid that they know we've come back year after year, and that's what a lot of the kids wind up, especially like now, and you look around and be like, oh, hey, I recognize you. You've been here. You see, they're excited. I hope they are. They seem excited enough to see us as we them. But this is actually in a school in Aragua, and someone from here paid for all the uniforms for these kids. So another program that's tied in to Torch down there is called Mi Esperanza. So they've got the R1T1 for the young men. Mi Esperanza is primarily for young single moms, and it gives them a place to I think find them a place to stay too, but also give them some work. So the Mi Esperanza ladies actually, we paid them to, or someone from here donated, and we paid them to sew the uniforms for the school and then give them to the kids. All the kids in school do wear uniforms. And so they did that, which is pretty neat. I think that's all we got. Yeah. So questions. Has anybody got any questions?
What's the typical size family? How many children?
The typical size that we see are, I would say, 2 to 3. I mean, not really big. Most of the families we're building houses for are, I would say, at most 3.
So a lot of times they're like mother or aunt or someone will also move in with them.
Yeah, the lady we built the block house for, the mother, which they're going to play a video at the end of service that has some of that in there, but she would probably live there too, I would guess. Is that?
Second wood house, you said there was like 7 people or something.
Yeah, like that. Somebody say something? No.
How do you decide? You said block houses and wood houses?
Um, what they're trying to move towards building as many block houses as they can, just because of the structure being, if you had a choice to build a block house or a wood house, you'd probably choose having a block house. It doesn't always work to get it built, especially like the first house we built. I mean, we're climbing up the side of a mountain to get there, and I mean, it would be very impractical to take blocks up there. So I mean, they're trying to build as many as they can so that they can support the young men that make the blocks too. They don't run a sawmill, so they have when the lumber's bought. But if they can have the guys make the blocks, they're trying to incorporate in there as much as they can. Somebody have something over
How do they decide who gets the homes?
there is a big folders of applications that people put in to torch. I don't actually know what is all on the application, but they do look at the conditions they're in. There's no requirement you don't have to go to the church there. You don't have to do any of that. So they try not to make it like if you do this, then. But they do make sure, they do vet that they have a piece of property that they own. They'd run into issues years ago, and they've kind of worked all through that, I think, from years past of like, well, we built a home on somebody, and turns out they didn't even have a title to the land. And a lot of the times they'll, like I was mentioning, the mayors, gave the land to them to use as a church, but they'll have little plots of land that designated, and they'll give them I still don't understand how they survey. It's pretty basic, I guess, because usually they'll try to put some kind of fence barrier. When I say fence, I mean like a little barbed wire and some rail fencing, but yeah, I'm sure the property lines are all everywhere down there.
Where are all the fathers and the men? Are they working? All the pictures you see are mostly women and children.
And most of the men, I don't know that they're necessarily working, but a lot of them are women and children that the men have left and gone off, and that's what a lot of the houses you build and deal with is they've had a few kids and got up, maybe went to work, but didn't come back. That's part of the goal of the R1T1 is to we're make better men, family men, and in both morally and trade. And like the guy you saw that I think I said was there we built a house for he helped us with the block house. I think he is like guys like that. We've seen that it be successful for some of them, but as they grow that program, that's the goal, is to make men that can stay with their families. Anybody got anything else?
How many people are in the area and where you have to branch out to other areas?
I think there's more work than we could do, and that, but I don't know how many people are in that Costa Rica. I mean, there's hundreds of people up there. Yeah. So if there's nothing else, I just want to say thank you all for everybody that supports that. It's encouraging. It gets to be a hard. Each year, it feels hard going into it, but the fact that so many of you have supported those houses and the things we've done, it's very encouraging and very uplifting. I think it boosts everybody I'm speaking for. If you see somebody, I think a lot of the guys wore these shirts that look like torch shirts. If you got a question just ask them what a trip looks like. We plan to go again next year. There's a trip going